Okay, Disney has been in the news a lot lately, and so has the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. In fact, Disney just released a whole bunch of discounts for cast members, Disney Vacation Club members, and annual pass holders. Still, even with the discounts, the cruiser is still very expensive. Having sailed on 2 voyages now, we thought we would pop in here to give you our list of do's and don'ts to help you get the most out of this experience and also to help you avoid some of the mistakes that we've had. Let's get started. Okay, diving right in. We're gonna start with our first do.
Do use a travel agent if you can. There's a lot of travel agents that specialize in Disney. Some of them even specialize in Starcruiser. They tend to have a little bit of access to maybe help you get that reservation booked on the day that you're looking for. Definitely, outsource it. I think the first time we tried to get on the
First time I
cruiser,
tried to book the cruiser.
Getting up at 4 a.m. my time, calling the wrong number, staying on hold for about 8 hours.
I think it's a little bit easier
yeah,
nowadays.
that was some of the initial when they just opened. But somebody will do that for you a lot of the time.
And actually for free.
For free. So why not use somebody to help you get it booked?
Our second do is do allow time to get there.
What we mean by that is, especially for those of us traveling from the West Coast, is treat it kind of like a regular cruise. Definitely want to make sure you get there. You don't want to be trying to land and come into a travel delay and kind of miss your cruise. It's an action-packed cruise. There's a bunch of stuff that's going to happen and you don't want to miss out. So definitely build in a travel day to get there. I like to get there the day before your cruise is planned to start. That way if you get into travel headaches like we did on our very first one, where we ended up sleeping in the Salt Lake City airport. So yes, definitely build in a travel day.
So the next do is actually following the cruise. We would highly recommend that you book some time to decompress after the cruise. What I mean by that is we've been to 2 cruises now, and both times we found that we've had what's called a post-voyage blues, and it's real.
On this cruise, Disney does an excellent job of getting you into the Star Wars universe and all the things that you love. And when it's over, sometimes the sads come. You just are kind of really bummed out because you just had a great time and
now you have to go back to the real world.
Now you have to go back to the real world where there isn't Star Wars characters doing cool things and fun, exciting stories.
So the next tip that we have is actually do dress up. So that we say that with a little bit of grain of salt because we know that some guests go pretty all out when it comes to costuming and cosplay. Mike and I are not super cosplay people, but both times we try to, stay in universe, if you will.
Some people would go full specific character. Our first trip, we had a little Darth Maul, and he had the full face paint and everything. That was really good. But a lot of people were more just kind of in universe or had clothing that kind of seemed inspired by one of their favorite Star Wars characters. And that adds a lot, and it'll lead into you feeling more like you're in the universe, especially if a lot of the other people on the cruise are also dressed up, which most people, I think, have some level of costuming going on. And then when you get down to Batuu, it really kind of starts to sink in. A couple of times I had people ask me, thinking I was a cast member, where things in Batuu were, and it was great.
In terms of the next do, I think packing your costume, whatever you're about to wear to the Star Cruiser, if you're traveling by air, it's really important that you put it in your carry-on.
Yes, put anything you don't want to potentially lose. I would definitely put it in your carry-on. We've had costumes be lost, and eventually they were returned, but timing matters here. It doesn't matter that your costume arrives a week later at your house. You need it for that thing.
So the next thing is actually pretty big. We would highly recommend that you spend as much time in the common areas as possible. Now, we will go back to our first voyage, which we made the mistake. I at least made the mistake of, taking a nap.
Yeah. So learning from our experience, our first travel trip, where we ended up sleeping in the airport, obviously we did not sleep well. So when we got to Star Cruiser,
when we arrived, we were just like, no, that's
so we were
too
burnt
much.
out. So we took a little bit of a nap and we missed some stuff. The other thing we were doing is when we were busy doing story elements for our path, we would do that, but then we would kind of go other places, do things, and we really didn't realize that the main lobby area,
a lot of
in the
interactions.
Starlight Lounge, there's a lot of story elements that go on in there, and just by being in that space, you will be more involved in the story.
And you'll run into characters, you get to interact with them a lot more. Our first voyage, Mike actually spent more time in one of it's called the Sublight Lounge, which is the bar, which is absolutely amazing. But because I was so tired, I actually turned in a little bit earlier, and that was actually one of the regrets that I had, that I didn't really had enough time to interact with the characters outside of your sort of pre-arranged interactions.
Yeah, and there's going to be set interactions, but do engage with the cast, the crew members, so like the ship crew members, and also the cast members that are playing some of the characters in the story. Definitely get out of your comfort zone a little bit. The actors are amazing, and they will help. Don't feel like you need to be an expert in improv or anything. Just jump in, enjoy the story, engage with the characters. And I would recommend, if there is a particular story that you're interested in, do not be shy. Go talk to those characters or those people. You're gonna get as much out of it as you put in. If that is literally the number one thing I would just say.
Yeah, your story outcome definitely depends on your level of interaction, which actually leads me to the next point, which is actually, despite what we just said, still do what you're comfortable with. And if you're super laid back and you just want to, be on the Star Wars hotel, totally fine. In fact, Mike actually has a story about that as well.
So we took my mom on the second trip, and my mom knows what Star Wars is, but is by no means a Star Wars fan. And she wasn't feeling good. A couple of times she had to take a break and just rest. But she somehow she got the big Jedi finale that I've never seen, I haven't gotten to do, and my mom absolutely loved it. She hardly ever used her data pad. She wasn't really active, and I think they still made sure that she enjoyed the experience and got, to do some really fun things. Do what you're comfortable with, but try and maybe push just a little bit out of your comfort zone. There's just story going on around you
all the time. So the next thing that we have is actually bring some cash for tips for cast members like your valets and some housekeeping and your porters. Those are generally the cast members you want to make sure you take care of.
They help load our luggage, park our car, got it for us at the end, and then leave a little bit for housekeeping, because there was 4 adults our second trip in one tiny room, and we tried to keep it clean, but they would always take care of us. So just a little thank you to the cast members. So one more to do for those of you that enjoy libations. Do go to the Sublight Lounge, and they have some really fun cocktails that are kind of on there. 2 of them come with a souvenir glass, so even though they're more expensive, you do get some of the cool Chandrilla glassware. I've got a couple of them. Yep. I really like them. We use them all the time. But talk to the bartenders.
The chemists.
Yes,
sorry. They're hilarious.
They're great. The staff that runs that Sublight Lounge, they are amazing.
They're
Get
fantastic.
to know them. The snacks in there are complimentary, so there's a whole bunch of really kind of good little eats in there.
They'll remember you.
And they'll remember you.
Yep.
The chemists can also, they have their set drinks that they have, but they can pretty much make whatever you want. And not only that, some of them are really great and creative, and some of them will make something for you just kind of
depending on your mood or
exactly.
with the color of your day or whatever.
So Chris, I don't know why you would be watching, but if you are, you were amazing. Thank you so much for so many great times in the Sublight Lounge there.
All right, I think we're ready to move on to the don'ts.
Yes.
There's some good don'ts out in there, so stay tuned. Number 1, I think we talked about outfits and costuming and whatever, but I think my number 1 don't is don't stress out about it. Don't stress out about it. I mean, like Mike mentioned, you can put together some really awesome costume just by going to your Target, your Kohl's or whatever. And the next thing is, don't spend too much time at Hollywood studios On the day that is your Batu excursion, like yours truly did our first voyage.
So this you could turn this into a don't, or you could do this as a do, but maximize your time on the Starcruiser.
Yeah.
Now, if you have been to Batu before, this is really easy. On the Batu excursion day, there's going to be stuff you need to do on the planet. Go do that. Maybe do a couple of the other things if you wanted to do that, and then get back to the Starcruiser. Because
there's stuff going on.
One, the lunch there is better than anything you're going to have on Batu. And two, they'll start around noon. There'll be some small things you can do, but then the story will start to pick back up.
Yeah, pretty quickly here.
And to be fair, the Starcruiser is, you're spending a lot of time and
a lot of money
to do this. Enjoy. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody and they said, I wish I spent less time on the Halcyon.
Yeah. And then last don't miss out your opportunity to take a selfie or some photos with the cast members at the end of the cruise. Our first voyage, we did not do that, and I really regretted it.
I don't know why we didn't do it. There was the big story finish, and then we never got a chance to
say thank you.
Say thank you,
yeah.
and because I
acknowledge the cast members.
These are actors that you've been engaging with for the last 48 hours, and they've carried you through this story together. Really, I mean, they've gotten you involved in it, and hopefully you've got up to some shenanigans or something at this point. It's a great kind of way to just capture a moment. The casts are really great.
And send them off.
Yeah.
They work really, really hard. So it was nice to be able to personally appreciate them outside of the story element a little bit. So I thought that was really nice. The next list is sort of like what to bring and what not to bring. So anything that resembles a weapon, don't bring it. No blasters. Do not even think about it. They will remind you of that.
Lightsabers, or as some of the crew members will call it, scrap, because they think it's scrap metal. Those you can bring. You cannot ignite your lightsaber.
That's right.
On the ship, unless you're doing one of the photo opportunities.
And scissors, I think, don't. Try not to bring scissors.
We got mixed messages on scissors. We were told small scissors were okay, but some of the cast wasn't quite sure. When we were checking in, I kept them separate, and I just asked, and they're like, they may take it, so I just didn't bring it back on. Any sort of tools, like screwdrivers, like, even if you got to fix part of your, costume or something.
Yeah, no corkscrew either.
No corkscrew. You'll go through a metal detector, and they'll check your luggage for stuff.
And don't bring too much stuff. Because a standard cabin is actually quite small.
Yeah.
So especially if you're sharing your cabin with 3-4 other adults, it can get pretty cramped pretty quickly.
It is very kind of cruise shipy.
Yeah,
as far
definitely.
as it's a tight, cozy cabin. Bathroom space is at a premium. There's not a lot of counter space.
Absolutely. And then speaking of bathroom, we would highly recommend bring air freshener. Again, just make your cabin mate's life a little bit easier. We'll just leave it at that. So the other thing that I think is pretty crucial is bring extra extension cords and power cords.
You have your data pad, and then maybe another data pad, and then a camera or something. Before
any tech gear. Before you know you're just gonna use it
all up.
Yeah.
So definitely bring a couple of power strips.
And there's no power outlets in the bunk beds, so that is one of the things we were kind of like, oh, they probably should have done that. Along the same lines, power banks, extra battery, definitely make sure you bring those, because it's pretty data intensive, because you're going to be on your phone, your data pad a lot. So make sure you have extra juice for your mobile devices. And I think if you run out, you can ask the crew members to give you one of those fuel rods to charge. We never really asked, so we can't confirm that, but I have heard that they can supply extra battery for you. And then the last one, this one again, untested.
In your cabin, there's this nice view portal that looks out into the galaxy. However, it has some very bright lights around the viewport.
Yep.
And at night, if you want to sleep with the viewport open,
looking out into the galaxy,
you can't turn those lights off.
Yeah.
So people have brought painter's tape to cover up the lights. If you are going to do something like that, I would recommend you get like a name brand, like a really nice.
Yeah.
Get
Make
like
sure there's no residue.
Get like a 3M painter's tape that's not going to leave some weird residue on it or something like that. You need like the good thick tape. Don't get like the little like 1-inch strip. you'll be regretting that. But don't bring something like gaffer's tape where it's going to leave stuff on.
Make sure that we're not advising you to bring anything that would harm property or anything like that. Take it at your own risk.
Yeah. So I guess if you want to.
So the next section is sort of like the extras. So obviously the alcohol is going to be in addition to your prepaid charge, but then there's a couple different things that you can book as part of an additional experience. So Mike, why don't you talk about the captain's table real quick?
So the captain's table is an extra kind of charge during dinner, and I kind of feel it's actually totally worth it. We did it on our first cruise, and we did it again on our second one. I'm glad we did. I would recommend that you do it the first night. Do the captain's table the first night. I
think you get one extra drink. It's like a champagne toast, and then you have maybe a couple more hors d'oeuvre dishes, and you actually take this medallion away. Yeah, they give you a little bit of like a keepsake.
I don't think you're making back the money that you spend on the captain's table, but it is. I consider it like a premium seating fee. You're in the middle of the cafeteria dining hall, and there will be a musical performance that evening. Any seat, I just want to be clear, any seat in that is great.
It's really good, yeah.
But the captain's table is right smack dab in the middle, so everything's around you all the time. Yeah. I would definitely recommend thinking of it like that and doing captain's table that way.
Well, one trick is that if you want to experience captain's table without paying for captain's table, that table is completely open.
For breakfast and lunch. Yep. So you can sit at the captain's table during breakfast and lunch without paying extra.
Yeah. Again, this goes back to sort of like maybe using a travel agent will help you because they'll kind of package the whole experience for you, because captain's table is kind of difficult to book just because of the limited space. Yeah. And the next one that I want to talk about is Cantina Chronicles. This one is a free extra experience. You just have to tell the crew members to book it. What it is that it's a non-alcoholic beverage tasting.
And they tell a story of each of the beverages, and it's in the Sublight Lounge. It's on that second day around
noon. A crew member will bring a flight of non-alcoholic drink, and they'll go through the backstory and like let you explain it. The history around the drinks and how they're made and all that stuff. It was interesting. We missed out on the Chronicle the first voyage because we spent too much time on Batu or Hollywood Studios. So this time we made sure that we were able to catch it. So the Spirits Adventure is actually the adult beverage version or the alcoholic counterpart to the Cantina Chronicle. This one is $50 per person. And this is actually, you get to sit by the bar and the chemist will make the drink for you, talk about it. You learn some special toasts, and you also get to learn a little bit about the backstory of the ship that you probably wouldn't know anywhere else.
So that to me was the most enjoyable part of it. I think they were like quarter cocktails or half cocktails. They weren't.
But it was a lot.
But the fun part was you basically did get to sample four of the drinks. So there was some that I didn't need to have. One of them is, I would say, an acquired taste, but the chemist was fantastic. Lots of like backstory, additional details, things like that.
Yeah, this one, the seating is also pretty limited. There's only one session, so if you want to do the Spirits of Adventure, make sure you book it as soon as possible.
So what I did, unbeknownst to me, was just walk straight into the Sublight Lounge when we got on early. Went up to the bartender and told them, "Hey, I would love to do the Spirits of Adventure," and he basically took my name down and gave me a little coaster with like a note on it on when to be there and stuff like that.
So the next one that I want to talk about is the special photo session. Now, I will say, when we first went on the voyage, our first voyage, the photo experience, they call it the CSL photo experience, was only $90. It was an introductory price.
Yeah,
at that point,
for 20 minutes.
Yep, 20 minutes, you get to basically be taken to different rooms on the ship, and you have a lighting person and you have a photographer, and they'll take specialized photos for you, and they'll actually process the photos and send it to your My Disney Experience app. Now, that pricing has since basically tripled, quadrupled. Right now, the same exact photo session will cost you $399
for 30 minutes, though. So it's
one extra 10 minutes. Yes.
So if this is your thing, and you want to get photos in whatever on the ship, and that's really what you want to do, then do it. But for us, I would rather just save the money. You can always get photos in all sorts of places. The other thing that kind of makes the CSL photo experience not as great for me is there's stuff going on the ship all the time, so they can't guarantee that you can get into an area. If you wanted to be on the bridge getting photos, they'll try and accommodate it, but if there's something going on the bridge, they're not going to interrupt that so you can have a photo on it.
So we end up having some hallway and elevator
pictures.
So
and they've gotten pretty good. When we were there the first time, they hadn't been at it very long. The second time, they were clearly a little bit more experienced, a little bit more, they know where some good shots are, and there's plenty of great shots to get on that ship. So
your mileage may vary. It really depends on you. For $90, Mike and I thought it was pretty good. For $400, I don't.
Pass.
Hard pass.
So
Another thing that you can do on the ship is actually a face painting session.
And that's the first day when you get there. Again, if this is something that you really want to do, or usually it's the kids, like the one kid that did the Darth Maul. He had the full Darth Maul face paint, and he looked like a mini Darth Maul. It was awesome. So the quality of the face painting that they do is fantastic. It is going to take up time on your first day. And do you want to be sitting there getting your face painted, or do you want to be running around the Halcyon doing exciting things?
And the other thing is, on Batuu, you cannot have a full face paint. So there's basically two tiers. You're paying for the premium experience. Just keep in mind that you're gonna have to wash your face before you go to Batuu. So sort of, if you're paying that much money, I don't know if you want to just kind of like wash your face, but that's, again, your mileage may vary on that one.
The Savi's Workshop,
Droid Depot, and Oga's.
For me, the Savi's is I really liked it. I'm glad I did it once. I would recommend if you've always wanted to get your own lightsaber, definitely do it. It's very cool. I won't spoil anything in it. And then the Build-A-Droid, that's up to you. You can buy either a BB-8 droid or an R2 droid, or you can get an SK droid on the Halcyon. So these are, which are the same droids. You just didn't necessarily custom make it yourself. Now the custom droids have little interchangeable parts and things you can kind of swap in and out. My dad actually did it. He loved it.
And people do ask if your completion of your missions will depend on being in those experiences. Not at all. Not at all. And if this is your first time going to Galaxy's Edge, or you don't plan on coming back to Hollywood Studios anytime soon, you may want to do that. But if you're a frequent Disney World goer, or
if you're going to go to Hollywood Studios on the next day, I would really do those on the next day. The only one I might do on the same Halcyon day is the Savi's. That might be the one I would do, just if you're like, hey, part of my personal story is I want to go to Batuu, get my lightsaber, and bring it back on the ship. That might be the one I would do. And
the advantage of booking your Savi's, your Droid Depot, or your Ogas through the cruiser is that it's actually a separate reservation system that is different from your regular Disney dining experience. So they basically set aside a certain amount of spots for cruiser guests. So
because you have a pretty limited window that you're going to be there.
So I'll pop the phone number you can call if you want to book those experiences through the cruiser, which I highly recommend. Or again, if you have a travel agent that you're working with, you can always let them know.
And then the other extra that you can do, and it's totally an easy one to do while you're there because you just kind of hop in and can hop out, is the Olga's. Our Olga's Cantina. That's a great place to hang out. We go back.
We love it.
It has kind of turned into we will try and get a late night Olga's reservation. just to kind of close the
Be able
park
to
out
hang
with
out,
that.
yeah.
So that's kind of like a place that we like to go grab a drink at the end of the day.
That just about wraps it up. Well, we hope you found this video to be helpful. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and the notification bell so you don't miss our content. We would love it if you could comment, provide feedback, and also subscribe to our channel to be part of our growing community. Now click here to hear our take on if Disney World's Be Our Guest restaurant is worth it. See you soon.